Alright, so before this video starts, I already know somebody in the comments is gonna say, bro is definitely on a watch list after making this. And honestly, probably. But nah, this video isn't about encouraging anything. I just think it's genuinely crazy how protected world leaders are in modern times. Like the amount of planning behind a single public appearance is actually insane. And the more I looked into it, the more I realized the movies have completely destroyed our understanding of how this stuff works in real life. Because Hollywood makes it seem like one guy with a hoodie and a dramatic soundtrack can somehow outsmart entire governments. So first off, let's talk about visibility. Most world leaders are probably the most monitored people on earth. And I don't just mean bodyguards following them around. I mean intelligence agencies, surveillance teams, cybersecurity teams, military support, local police, international coordination. It's layers on top of layers. Take the President of the United States, for example. Whenever the US President travels somewhere, it's basically a military level operation. Roads get blocked off, buildings are checked beforehand, rooftops are monitored, and entire routes are planned in advance. Sometimes there are even decoy motorcades. Like imagine trying to track somebody where there could literally be multiple identical convoys moving around at the same time. That's already ridiculous. And then there's Air Force One. People think it's just a fancy plane, but that thing is basically a flying command center. Advanced communication systems, security systems, military coordination. The amount of protection involved is crazy. And honestly, that makes sense because world leaders aren't just regular celebrities. An attack on a major leader could literally affect global markets, military tensions, entire economies, everything. That's why governments take this stuff so seriously. And another thing people underestimate is preparation. Before a world leader even arrives somewhere, security teams are already there. They inspect buildings, check exits, monitor crowds, study nearby areas. Sometimes they even know which windows could potentially be dangerous. Imagine being a random dude in an apartment near an important event and suddenly realizing your building has probably been checked by security teams without you even noticing. That's the level we are talking about. And honestly, some of the footage online is misleading because events look normal. You'll see a leader walking through a crowd shaking hands and think, wow, they're so relaxed. Meanwhile, there are probably undercover agents mixed into the crowd, sniper teams nearby, emergency evacuation plans ready, medical teams on standby. Nothing about it is casual. And history is honestly the reason security became this extreme in the first place. One of the biggest examples is John F. Kennedy. After the assassination of Kennedy in 1963, security around world leaders changed massively. Governments realized how vulnerable public appearances could be, and ever since then, protection systems became more advanced year after year. Because before that, leaders were honestly way more accessible than they are today. Nowadays, completely different world. Another major example is the attempted assassination of Ronald Reagan in 1981. What's crazy is how fast security reacted. If you watch the footage, agents immediately shoved him into the car within seconds. That moment literally became an example used in protection training today. Afterward. And that's another thing people tend to forget. These security teams train constantly. This isn't random improvisation. These people rehearse scenarios over and over again, so reactions become automatic. And also, honestly speaking, technology changed everything too. Back then, disappearing was easier. Today, your phone alone exposes so much information about you: location data, cameras, internet history, facial recognition, travel records. If somebody suspicious starts behaving strangely around protected areas, there's a good chance systems notice before the person even gets close. And cities themselves are full of cameras now, especially in major capitals. Places like Washington, London, or Beijing already have heavy surveillance in general. Add a world leader visit on top of that, and becomes even more intense. And honestly, social media made things harder too. People expose themselves online constantly without realizing it. You ever see somebody post, "Bro, something big is about to happen"? Yeah, that's not exactly helping them stay unnoticed. And then there's the psychological side of it. Security teams don't only watch for weapons or obvious threats, they also watch behavior. Who looks nervous? Who's moving strangely? Who keeps reaching into pockets? Who's standing in unusual places? And humans are honestly terrible at acting natural when they're stressed. That's why a lot of modern security relies on observation before anything happens. One thing I find interesting is how movies always show assassins as these unstoppable masterminds. Like they just sneak into impossible places with dramatic music playing in the background. But real life is way messier. There are checkpoints, unexpected schedule changes, technology failures, crowd complications, random delays. Even professional journalists sometimes struggle just to get close enough for decent footage. Now imagine somebody trying to bypass actual government security. That's why most plots fail long before they even become serious threats. And another thing, world leaders usually don't travel alone. People focus on the one visible person, but there are entire teams surrounding them: military advisors, medical staff, communication teams, intelligence officers, local law enforcement. It's basically a moving fortress, and some vehicles used by leaders are insane too. The US presidential limousine, nicknamed the Beast, is basically a tank disguised as a car. Armored doors, bullet resistant glass, sealed interior. And despite all this security, governments still take threats seriously every single time, because no system is perfect. That's why even rumors or online threats can trigger investigations. And honestly, that's probably the weirdest part about all this. The average person will never fully see how much protection exists behind the scenes. We only see the public version, the smiling, the waving, the speeches. But behind that is an entire machine working non-stop to prevent disasters. And when you really think about it, it makes sense. If major world leaders were easy targets, global politics would become completely chaos. Every appearance will become dangerous. International meetings will become impossible. Countries would constantly panic. So governments spend these insane amounts of money making sure these people stay protected. But yeah, honestly, the more I learned about this stuff, the more I realized real life security is way crazier than anything movies show.